autumn internships also give us time to understand the concepts or the specialization that we are actually applying for. So we are ready with the competent skills, and when we actually use those competent skills that we have learned during the academic courses and apply them to the corporate internships that we do, I think the learning curve increases drastically. We had 3 rounds of interviews, each around 50 to 1 hour each. They were that long.
That's long.
And the questions generally are repetitive. So they try to see the consistency of your answers. They just try to see if you're not faking any of your experiences, and they want to see the genuinity in the answers that you have. There was a tendency in me as well that when I used to get a problem, I used to work on it for 50%, and then I think that this might not work, and I end up starting working on another problem. And then I realize that I'm not able to solve both of the problems and end up nowhere.
Hello and welcome
To PPO Journeys.
I am Manas Sakhe, a chartered accountant, MBA from IIM Indore, and now an incoming senior associate at BCG. In this series, I will host achievers who will share stories on how they secured their internships and bagged PPOs from some of your dream recruiters like the MBBs, Google, JP Morgan, Unilever, TAS, ABG, and many more. So, let's jump right in.
Today we have Gaurav Sodhani. Gaurav is an engineer who went on to pursue MBA with a marketing specialization from SPJIMR Institute of Management Research. During his MBA, he did a fantastic job at his autumn internship placements and got placed at Procter & Gamble, where again he clearly did a fantastic job because he was given the PPO and he will be joining them soon. Gaurav, a very warm welcome, and we're very glad to have you here today. So why don't we start by talking about your MBA journey? How was life at SPJIMR? How did that go for you?
I think life at SPJN has been really fantastic, and I had a really good time. The last 2 years were really special. It was my first experience staying away from home, and I've got an amazing bunch of friends there. I've got to meet a lot of different people, and overall, I would say it is a very rewarding journey I had.
Right. And you also went on foreign exchange, right? Was that in your second year? To SR, if I remember correctly.
Yes, yes. So that was towards the end of our course. It was the last part of the course, just a month ago. We went in around mid-March and came back in mid-April, and I think we had made a lot of memories there, and it was really fun having to get exposed to a very different culture, a very different place, learning there and knowing different things about people there. It was a really exciting journey.
Right, that's great. And of course, the academic rigor is very high at these schools. We all know that. But outside of academics, what all co-curricular activities did you engage in on campus?
Yes. So apart from academics, I was part of a public speaking club. It's called Speak, and I was also part of the annual sports fest called Sprint in SPJIMR. I was in the logistics team there. Apart from that, there's a mandatory non-classroom learning course at SPJN, which is called IMAP. It's basically to develop the administrative potential of all the candidates who are participating in this course. And I was part of the spirituality in action committee. It was quite different, and I thought I should be exploring that area as well. So these were the activities I was involved in apart from the academics.
That sounds really exciting, and I'm sure it must have been an opportunity to learn, collaborate, and have a lot of fun as well, right? Because it's not just all about studying. You get to do a lot of other activities with a lot of talented people, which is a very enriching experience, I'm sure. So before we move on to talk about your placement, you specialized in marketing, which is a unique thing about SPGen, right? And given that you are an engineer, what made you want to switch into marketing? What was that thought journey like?
So I always had a path to pursue management education because I come from a family business background, and I've seen that throughout my life, I would say till now. So that inspired me to enter into the management field. Why I was specifically interested in marketing was because as our family business had a major sales and marketing function. And I've also been reading a lot of books on marketing, whether it's consumer behavior or branding strategies. It was an obvious choice for me to join marketing in SPJIMR, and that pushed me to pursue that.
How did you go about preparing for placements in marketing companies that you wanted to get into? What kind of interviews do you go through, and what kind of preparation is necessary for that?
So if I talk in general about the FMCG companies that come on campus, we generally have three phases. One is the CV round, which most of the companies have, a CV shortlist round. Post that, some companies do have a CV shortlisting. After the CV shortlisting, there is generally a basic questionnaire that is circulated on HR questions or aptitude test or an asynchronous interview in case of HUL. And post which we do have the GD rounds and the interview rounds for selection. And this depends again on company to company because the processes keep changing with time and it's different for different companies.
So you must have received a lot of support from your seniors in terms of material as well, right? So what are those 3 or 4 key resources that you everybody absolutely must refer to while preparing for marketing interviews?
So I would divide the resources that I used for preparing for marketing interviews into internal and external resources. So coming to internal resources, there are two different types of materials you generally look into. One would be the technical competency-based resources, and the other would be the HR competency-based resources. So HR competency-based resources, which is very important for PNG interviews especially, I referred PNG 64 questions. I had detailed answers prepared for each one of those questions with detailed scenarios. Apart from that, to improve my technical competency, I refer to the academic material. Kotler is the basic go-to place.
Yeah.
And apart from that,
Bible, marketing Bible. Yeah.
yes, kind of. And
Mm.
apart from that, as we have autumn internships, that's during the months of September and October, we already go through the specialization courses, unlike other B schools. So we get an opportunity to already know certain academic concepts in marketing, which actually helps us in reinforcing our preparation for the interviews.
Mhm.
Coming to the other part, that is the external resources, it's very important to actually prepare for what the company you're applying to. So knowing the company, what business is it into, what are the different brands, what's its distribution model, which really helps because it shows the effort of and interest that you want to join that particular company. Apart from that, I read a lot of articles on brand equity and was aware on the industry news that was happening in the field of marketing. So overall, these were the resources I used. Apart from that, yes, obviously seniors are a go-to place to take help from, take guidance from, and I got to learn a lot of their interview experiences, which really helped me in cracking some of the interviews which we had on campus.
Okay, that's really nice. And you also mentioned the autumn internship, right? So that is also another unique feature of SPJN. So how is the autumn internship different from summer placements that happen at other campuses? How does that impact your preparation?
So I think the concept of autumn internship is really rewarding for a B school student because generally when we have summer internships, we enter a B school which is already a very new place with a lot of different things happening all around, and then you
Mhm.
suddenly get the summer placements time initially immediately after 2-3 months, and we juggle around a lot of things and we really do not understand what's happening around. What autumn internship helps us with is first to share the workload, so we get ample amount of time to prepare for the placements and we do not get that initial too much burden or load when we join the campus. The second
Mhm.
important part is autumn internships also give us time to understand the concepts or the specialization that we are actually applying for. So we are ready with the competent skills, and when we actually use those competent skills that we have learned during the academic courses and apply them to the corporate internships that we do, I think the learning curve increases drastically. I
Mhm.
think these two major features are really helpful having an autumn internship in place.
All right. So then you went through all of this preparation, and you got the PNG shortlist, and then finally it was D-Day. What was your interview experience with PNG like?
Yes, so I really cannot forget those 2 days of the interviews. I was a little nervous at the start because I knew it was a big company and I always wanted to get into it. And I was really taken aback by the pre-placement talk that they gave at the campus. So I really wanted to get the placement into this firm, and a little nervousness, but I was quite very well prepared. I felt I had done my homework quite well. And the first round of interview, the interviewers were very, very sweet. So they were really friendly and they tried to make the interview really conversational. And I didn't really know how did the interview go for one long hour. We went on discussing from introducing ourselves, our families, to ending up discussing different life situations. The major component of all PNG interviews is HR-based questions. They don't ask you anything on your CV. They don't ask you anything to test your technical competency. So it was all HR-based questions and the detailed questions and answers and sharing of experiences. I think it was a really good experience that I had. We had 3 rounds of interviews. each around 50 to 1 hour each. They were that
Wow,
long.
it's long.
And the questions generally are repetitive. So they try to see the consistency of your answers. They just try to see if you're not faking any of your experiences, and they want to see the genuinity in the answers that you have. And I really love the way they interview because it's quite different from other marketing or FMCG interviews that we have for other companies.
Great. So, and then you got your result. You must have been delighted, right? This is one of the dream companies for someone who wants to get through to marketing. Some key takeaways from what you said so far are probably that from a marketing interview standpoint, particularly, HR questions are also quite important and they should not be neglected. Several resources available for preparation, of course, but a lot also depends on your interest in company that you're applying for, and specific research and knowledge about that company helps out a lot, right? And when you joined, what was your first week there like? It must have been a fancy induction process, right? How did that go for you?
Yes, so we were invited to the Mumbai GO, the general office in Mumbai, and we had 2 days of induction with a lot of sessions explaining us about what are the different functions that PNG has. And I think it was more educative in that way, and we had a really good time. The second day started with us getting to know our projects, what all we had, our interaction with our buddy and the mentor, and we tried to have some conversations around it, and a basic exposure to the market on how market visits are done, how the market runs, and it's more of knowing and figuring out what you have to do for the next coming weeks in the internship. So that was how the week 1 was.
In general, I've seen people talk about the good experiences that they've had during their internship, which is the right thing to do naturally. But the truth is, most of us in our internships go through a lot of this stress, anxiety, and difficult times as well, right? These are the challenges that they are testing us to overcome. So, what would you characterize as your lowest during the internship? Was there a massive challenge that you had to deal with? Something that really, played with your mind?
So yes, I think there was one such moment in the third week. While I've done quite a lot of stuff, like I thought I was heading in the right direction, and I talked to my buddy, and she's like, "What have you done? It's not exactly what I thought you would be doing." And we actually had to course correct and move to a very different direction. I was a little stressed because I felt the lack of time, but I think they were really, really motivating. My manager was very, very supportive of me, and my buddy even guided me through on how can I again course correct and come back on track. I think, and that really helped. And from there on, I think I did not have any major problems. Yeah, a little bit of problems that come and go, but I think that is how you need to learn and tackle. And that is one of my important learnings: keep aligning your stakeholders as and when you progress on certain things in your project.
And it's actually great to know that your manager and team were very supportive. But at times like these, you must have also ranted to your buddies, co-interns, batchmates, friends, and stuff. So, how had you built that support system to make sure you don't go nuts? What was your
Uh,
support system?
yes, so I think I had an amazing bunch of friends, and there were a lot of peer interns that I was working with, and they also had similar problems. Some of our sales interns were also working on similar problems but different channels. So we get to interact a lot with each other and share our problems. I think that helped quite a bit. Also, I would say my even the people in PNG are really, really supportive. So it's generally the policy of the company that whenever you need help, ask for it, and you'll always be given. So many people try to shy away ki kya chote questions puchenge, but I really recommend that if you really are stuck somewhere, and don't try to judge your question. It can be as serious as possible, but do ask and get the clarity, because at last what they actually judge you on is the tangible results with the business impact that you bring on table.
So, some very important points from what you said, right? First of all, understand very proper what you need to do and do enough background research to know everything that you need to know to go about your internship. Hustle, of course, work hard and fight, but whenever you're faced with challenges, make sure you don't hesitate to contact, reach out, and ask questions so you always know you're going in the right direction. Going through this entire journey, you finally ended up getting the PPO, right? So you must have done something very, very right. What are some of these challenges that you had to overcome? I mean, how did you overcome challenges that you've obviously had, and what were some of the key skills that you had or things that you did right that you think ultimately gave you the PPO?
So something that I think which stood out was first bringing out tangible results which had a business impact. So generally, when we get a problem, we do have many dimensions to look at it and solve it. What we
Right.
need to understand is we need to focus on one thing that we think might bring tangible results, and first try to close the loop on that before jumping to other problems. There was a tendency in me as well that when I used to get a problem, I used to work on it for 50%, and then I think that this might not work, and I end up
Yeah.
starting working on another problem. And then I
Right.
realized that I'm not able to solve both of the problems and end up nowhere. So, first thing I would say is catch a problem and try to complete the loop or close the loop or bring a conclusion to it of if that there's a possibility of solving a problem that you've been given through that mode of channel.
Right.
Second thing I think is the important skill. P&G is a very data driven organization. Every decision you make should be backed by strong data that you collect. So I think it's very important to have good data interpretation skills. You should be really good at Excel, and I think that would be really handy for you when you actually work on projects like these. The third thing is interacting with a lot of stakeholders, I guess, because when I interacted with a lot of stakeholders involved, each of them brought a unique perspective to the problem. And
Right.
these perspectives combined with my own perspective gave me a solution that was out of the box, because we need to understand that these problems have been also worked upon by those people who have been working for 10 or 15 years in the company. So they will obviously not leave any loose hanging fruits for us to catch. So we all need to deeply analyze each of the parts of the problem and then try to present a solutions. And interacting with a lot of stakeholders comes very handy.
Did you have to go about doing a lot of networking within the organization? Did that also help in achieving the results that you speak about?
So the first 10 days when we try to understand and learn about the problem, I think I interacted with a lot of different types of people, people from different brands, people from the sales teams, people on ground who are actually selling products in the wholesale stores. I think I got to interact with a lot of people, try to understand what the perspective they had towards this problem, and understand the ground realities and practicalities involved. And this actually helped because towards the end, I got many people who came up helping me and giving me some moments like, oh, ye to main socha hi nahi tha, and this, I think it could have been approached this way, and it was really helpful in navigating through the problem. So yes, I think networking is important, and it exposes us to different perspectives, so it's helpful.
Closing the loop, being impactful, being impact oriented, doing a lot of consultations, being data driven, and finally networking to get help when you need it are probably some of the key things that helped you succeed, right?
Yes. Apart from that, there's one more thing that I wanted to mention. Is
Absolutely.
you do all the hard work, but one thing that we always forget is the presentation that we have to present the
Yeah.
entire 2 months of hard work in the 15 minutes you have in the last day of your internship. I think we need to start making a presentation from our day one onwards, keep building over it, because in the last 5 days or 4 days, it's very difficult to put in all the ideas and concepts that you have actually navigated through in the last 2 months. So I think it's equally important to spend time on the delivery that you're going to give in the last 15 minutes, because the person who will be actually evaluating you might not have even met you for the last 2 months. So you need to actually present and express whatever you have done in the right way during those 15 minutes. So I think it's equally important to have that presentation skills as well.
So after all of this, you finally got the PPO, right? Firstly, heartiest congratulations on getting that PPO. I'm sure that must have made the rest of your MBA journey very, very easy. How was the news delivered to you, and how did you celebrate on campus when you found out? Were you on campus when you found out?
Oh, yes, I was on campus and we got the results through Playcom. I think about a couple of weeks after the internship got over. We didn't
That's
celebrate
fast.
until the entire bunch of our friends, got the results out. So, and probably after that, yeah, we went out, partied a little, and we also had a small ceremony at the campus as well when the batch got placed. So, yeah,
Okay.
it was fun in that sense.
I can imagine. I think the day when you get your PPO is also one of the best and brightest memory you have on campus, right? It's an unforgettable day for everybody who has the benefit of getting that for sure. So good. This is a fantastic journey that you've had. Very, very interesting, and I'm sure it will be very insightful for the viewers also to pick from your experience. As a parting message, are there any tips or suggestions that you want to give to aspirants who are going into their MBA now and are probably eager and anxious to get into dream recruiters like P&G?
I would say work hard, give your best, and be calm. The process can sometimes be random, but believe in yourself, never lose trust in yourself, and keep going ahead. That's what I would say. And all the best to all the aspirants who are going to get into their dream companies soon.
Fantastic. That's an absolute bullseye message. And on that high note, I think we come to the end of this episode. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for sharing your journey, Gaurav. I'm sure it will be very helpful to so many people that will be watching this. Thank you so much. Pleasure to have you here today.
Likewise, Manas. Thank you.